I was going to set up my fancy new ring light, but the instructions were vague, as they
Oh,
usually
really?
are, and I couldn't get one of the parts together.
That's
It's
okay.
like, yeah, and that's why I was late. That was my technical difficulties.
That's okay. We are live now. Actually,
All
the
right.
for some reason the intro video didn't start, but that's
Sure.
okay. You know what? I'll
Oh,
just play it right now, so then I don't have to edit it in later because I'm lazy. Here we go. Ah, that's more like it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to
it,
You'll Probably Agree. Today, Pat McDonald from Hollywood, Chicago on, and I was trying to think of movies that deserved a sequel, and I think within a few seconds, Dredd popped into my mind
mhm.
because Dredd holds a very special place to me. It came out the last year I was in film school. I was living in LA at the time, and I actually saw Dredd 3D at the theater in 3D. And there's really quite nothing like it. And we don't really get movies that were at the peak of its 3D like this one anymore. But to talk about Dredd is Pat Dredd, or also known as Pat McDonald. Pat, what were your thoughts on Dredd? You said you liked this movie.
Well, I was back then. I was in my, I would say, 2013. I was in my fifth year of doing film criticism. Got to interview Carl Urban for the movie,
Ooh.
and I remember I hadn't seen it since then, but I remember liking it a lot, and it kind of proved to be likable again as I watched it again. So as a movie, it's definitely in my memories because of the Carl Urban interview, which I always want to call him Keith Urban because of the country singer.
That's the
And
other
aren't they
guy.
both Aussies or something? I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, that's Nicole Kidman's
Yeah,
hobby.
right. I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But but Carl, of course, was famously Bones McCoy in the Star Trek reboot. So
And
he's
also in Lord of the Rings, he had a
yeah.
role in that, and he also oh damn, he did. Oh yeah, of course, he's in The Boys. You know, I always wondered how funny would it be if his accent slipped up during that during Dread. He's just making an arrest, and he's like, "Oi, cunt, I found you," and it's like, "Oh no, wait, that's the wrong role."
Well, he also did the American accent for McCoy, so I think he had a
Ah,
good warm up there. And of
yeah.
course, if you read the trivia, he was doing Clint Eastwood's voice. So there you go.
Oh, was he? I didn't
Yeah,
know that was
yeah,
Clint Eastwood's voice that he was doing because I was reading the facts on Wikipedia, and I was
yeah.
watching the extras on the DVD. Which, by the way, good thing I still have a DVD of that movie because the day I watched it on HBO Max, because it's in a higher resolution than DVD, it said it was leaving on Saturday, and I watched it on
Well, I had
Saturday.
to rent it, so obviously,
Yeah.
and I have Max, so obviously it had been gone, so I had to rent it this morning.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the problem. And there are some interesting extra features in there that I saw. And when I think about this movie, I'm thinking about like this was a movie that deserved to get a sequel, but didn't really get one. And the reasons are more business than
Yeah,
creative.
yeah. I saw
Yeah,
that it didn't gross enough.
yeah. It didn't make it up. Well, it was funny. I remember when I saw it in LA at the time, there was like a big billboard for it. And I remember when I went to the theater to see it, it was like empty, when I saw it.
Ah,
Like there was like no one there. And I thought the movie was a real ride. I mean, not just because of how viscerally visual it is,
mhm.
but also like the performances are great. And the movie feels a lot like Training Day, except that Dredd isn't like an evil, corrupt cop. He's a good cop living in a dystopian, sort of corrupt future where the police forces become judge, jury, and executioner,
Yeah.
kind of like the way they are today, where they're just executing people on the street. Um, And yeah, this movie, and then when I did a little more backstory recently or research recently on it, it came from a bunch of comics called 2000 AD,
Yeah.
and Judge Dredd was one of the characters on there. And basically, the movie takes place in this large megalopolis called Mega City One, and it's kind of like this sad, gigantic dome of a city where 800,000 inhabitants live, and they're
Well, there's
living.
been some sort of incident.
There was a nuclear
Obviously,
fallout,
nuclear,
and
right?
yeah,
So they what did they do? They combined like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia into one zone, one
yeah,
mega city, and they and the inhabitants lived in these mega towers, which apparently are about 200 stories. As we
yes.
find out near the end of the film, I'm like, wow, yeah,
Yeah. Now, have you ever now here's the thing. Everyone has always told me when I see this movie, they're like, "Oh, it's like The Raid, The Raid, The Raid." And I've never seen The Raid. But
I've
then I
never
read the
seen.
description of it, and it's like the exact same plot
Hmm.
where it's like you have this cop and a rookie, and they go up to like this very large urban story high rise, and you wonder if they're going to get out of there okay or not, which I'm going to guess in The Raid that they do.
Well, it's just
And
very
yeah,
die-hardian too, because it's
yeah,
all done in one building. You know, uh, uh, it's funny. I didn't really remember much about the film.
yeah.
I, uh, I I knew it was set in a dystopian future and all that, but it surprised me. It was like watching it anew. I was like Olivia Thirby. I haven't even thought of her in so many years.
Yeah,
And I was
where's she
thinking,
been since that
I know.
movie?
I didn't look up her Wikipedia, but her IMDb, but I was like, Olivia Thirby was once a thing, was once like a hot up and comer, and now I don't know where she. I know she did the L Word later, but I didn't.
Mm.
I don't know. I can't think of a context of what she's done in the 2020s. I keep
Yeah, I
forgetting it.
think maybe Dredd's bombing was a part of that because if
Maybe.
you're an actor and you're in a bunch of movies, you're gonna want something to be successful, and a lot of them, luckily they bounce back and they're able to find other projects after that. But yeah, I haven't seen Olivia Thirby since that, and that's too bad because I really liked her in this movie. I liked her character. She kind of was like the Ethan Hawke character in Training Day, where
Yeah, she
she's
did a
sort
good
of
job.
yeah, she's learning the wheels of the job, and of course, she has a special advantage to her because she's a mutant, where she has telepathy and she can like
Yeah,
see what other people are thinking. So she uses that to her ability in order to assess criminals. And I think the thing that this movie did very well that the Stallone version didn't do so well is that the Stallone version wanted to, I think, like cram every bit of story into one film where you have Judge Dredd where at first he's all about the job, he's all about dispersing justice, but then something happens and then he rebels against the job, and then there's a whole revolution, and then it falls apart, and it was done in like this very kind of like 90s silly way because it was the 90s and it was silly and it was a Stallone film, and it's
mhm,
enjoyable as like a fun kind of goofy movie, but it didn't really have any
right.
lasting appeal to it like this film did, where you see this film and it's more like it doesn't get too much into the backstory. It doesn't like get into Dredd's past or Dredd's change of heart. Like his character development when Alex Garland wrote it was very glacial. The
Mhm.
most character development we see in the beginning is that he's training Anderson and he's like, "Are you ready?" She's like, "No, you don't look ready." And then towards the end, she knows that she didn't
Yeah,
pass because she let like basically a felon go, but she saw in his mind, it's the guy who got his eyes gouged out, what he's been through. So she decides to let him free, and instead of letting her fail at the end of the test, he lets her pass because he saw that she had empathy, and that made her a better candidate to disperse justice than to just kill people. So it kind of triggered a little change in his mind, but it was like Anderson who went through the most like notable change when she went from kind of being like green and afraid to very confident and secure.
Well, what I found interesting this time is that as a dystopia, it's very strange because obviously they've redone the laws so that the judge is the ultimate dispenser of justice, right? So there's no courtrooms or anything. They just determine via database or something that whether you're going to live or die. And mostly you get executed, you know. So you would think, okay, there wouldn't be much crime anymore, but it's rampant with crime. They say Judge Dredd says, I can only solve 6% of the crime here. Well, then why even have a police force if your effectiveness is 6%? I mean, it's a dichotomy. At one end, you have a police force that's dispensing justice immediately, and on the other end, they're only effective for 6%. So, what is it? What is the dystopia?
Because he can't exactly assess every single person within the block of that megacity building.
Well, I get that, but how many judges are there?
Exactly.
I mean,
There's
we need to up the who's paying taxes for these people. I mean,
and they have like a 96% unemployment rate or something like that.
I was like, who are the 4% working in that building? I guess it's all security because there's no security there. I don't know. That was weird too. And I said, well, you want a job? Go to the munitions factory because every weapon is available to everybody. I mean, those machine guns they bring out at some point look like they're, from World War II or something. So apparently there's a munitions industry. There's plenty of ammo. There's plenty of guns. What kind of dystopia is this? That's what I'm asking.
I feel like it was kind of like a commentary on America in a way. Like they don't have jobs. They're loaded with guns. And they're constantly in a scuffle with the police force, because in 2000
this is pre-MAGA though,
Oh yeah, no, and the thing is, like in the research I was doing, I guess when they wrote 2080 and they wrote Judge Dredd, like when they put because it's not in this movie, but it's in the Stallone film and it's in the comics, they put like a giant American eagle on his shoulder. And that eagle, yes, it resembles America, but also
eagly.
But it also sort of represents the swastika in a way because it's about how blind patriotism will make you basically do things that may not be moral, and that's sort of what one of the creators of the comics was saying on the DVD.
Is it a dystopia in the comics as well? Is it a post-nuclear dystopia? Okay. I'm just saying, I'm just saying there's a few holes in the dystopia. I'm not trying to judge it at all, like Judge Dredd. I'm not shooting it down because of that, because Alex Garland, now I didn't get a chance to do the research. Was this his first screenplay?
Oh no, I mean he did 28 Days Later, way
okay, but there's an interesting story behind this one because the director kind of was aced out of the film at some point, Pete Travis.
That would make sense.
And the compromise is Garland oversaw the editing, and at one point said, well, I should be co-director if I'm editing, overseeing editing. And then there was some sort of something worked out in the Directors Guild, and Ellis kept his director position. So, I don't know. I was interested in Garland's involvement in it because I'll tell you one thing about Alex Garland. He'll always make something interesting. If they're even in this stupid dystopia where there's so many dichotomies, you still get into it because it's him and he creates rich characters and he motivates them in proper ways. I was very impressed with that. That's why I enjoyed the film. And I loved Carl Urban in it. He was just, never broke character, annoying on the set because he wouldn't break character. But
oh, really?
That was one of the background things I read. Another thing is the shootout from a car. That is the most ridiculous shootout ever because somebody who's driving can never orient the car properly for the guns to go off. and that's what
Yeah.
opens the film, of course. I think I saw
Unless
that
you have Judge
frequently.
Dredd's helmet, it has like a scanning mechanism where it's like RoboCop, where he zooms in and scans, and then he can like see the little body parts and shoot at it. Like he might have one of those. So I'm
Uh,
okay with the over the top action because like if
oh
you
yeah,
really
I was
think
too.
about it,
I,
like this guy
again, you start to see holes when the dystopia is there.
and
But
that
also,
yeah.
RoboCop. You mentioned RoboCop. They copped a lot of the design elements from Judge Dredd. So by the time Stallone came along, they were like, "Well, how do we make it not look like RoboCop?"
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
RoboCop had stolen so much from them. Um,
Well, how come no bad guys when it comes to Judge Dredd, RoboCop, Batman? They like all this is covered, but all of this is open. Why don't they ever shoot the mouth? Like it never makes any sense why they never do that.
well,
Yeah.
that's another thing interesting you said that because the judges had these weapons that they could,
Yeah,
create.
the lawgiver. Yeah.
I'm like, oh well, that's convenient. You have an armor piercing.
Hot
Uh,
shot.
yeah, and oh, the hot shot's great. Hot shot's a real term, by the way, because if in a hostage situation, if you have a shot through the mouth, you immediately disable the body because it takes the core out. So the perp just falls in a heap. Apparently,
Unless you're
I
the
was
dude
reading about
from
that. The hot shot.
unless you're the dude from Fight Club, you can just shoot yourself in the mouth and just have a sore throat. Yeah.
But as Judge Dredd said, it's all the deep end in
Yeah.
Mega City. So
Well,
I liked the drug too because it made for some
slow-mo.
stylish cinema. The slow mo drug,
Yeah.
because everything slowed down and it was funky. I
Oh
love
yeah,
it.
and when you see it in 2D on a screen, it doesn't look as good
Right?
because this movie was like made at the peak of the 3D era. I think like maybe a few years before it, Avatar came out, and then they started releasing like a lot of movies in 3D. Like there was My Bloody Valentine 3D and all that. And
Yeah,
then
yeah. There's
this
the 3D craze of the early teens. Yeah,
Yeah, and this movie works really well because the 3D isn't just there as a gimmick
yeah.
to sell
I could see it
tickets.
being great in 3D. I
Yeah,
don't recall seeing it in 3D, but I probably did.
I
And
I recall. Yeah.
and one of the things that killed 3D was the last Bender because they tried to
Oh
retrofit the
no.
3D and
Yeah.
it was horrible box office. So by the way, Olivia Thirlby is in Wonder Man, the new is that a Marvel TV series?
Oh yeah, yeah. Starring the dude who's not
Yeah,
Morpheus. Yeah. 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 I
right,
don't know
right.
his real
So
name, but I just remember he was
that's
in
where Olivia
Matrix.
Thirlby
Yeah.
is now. She's in that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so again, the Mama clan in many of these types of movies, or even just urban movies, they exist just to kill. They have to be
Yeah.
sociopathic killers, and
Yeah.
Mama is definitely a sociopathic killer.
And I like the way Lena
Like
Headey
Max
plays the
Headroom.
character. I like the way that she
Yeah,
kind of plays it
yeah,
where
she did a great
she's
job.
emotionally hurt, she's damaged, something really bad happened to her, and they go over it like something like her husband or her boyfriend scarred her face, so she castrated him. And then from there, she
Yeah,
kind of became like a mob leader. And the way she delivers her dialogue,
yeah,
it's like in this very kind of can't remember the actress's name, but she was in the original War of the Roses, and she kind of like emulates her voice, very low and sexy,
oh,
but it's
Kathleen
still
Turner.
Kathleen Turner. Yeah, she's kind of doing a Kathleen Turner thing where it's like low and sexy, but it's also like hurt and screwed up. Like you just expect any moment she's gonna break out and start screaming, but instead she just, she either eye gouges you or stabs you to death or sends her
Well,
guys to stab her.
this is a point. This is a point I want to bring up.
Yeah.
I've in the last, let's say, 5 years or post COVID, maybe, I have been so sensitive to violence in films. I am
Yeah.
very, I don't, I think, when we see the random violence in America now, the mass shootings, the guns are a huge problem in this country, right? So real violence, like for example, in our recent things in Minneapolis, they have to blur it out. You know, we can't desensitize ourselves by seeing real violence, right? But we can show it in the film ad nauseum. And this is an extremely violent film. And in my reviews going forward, whenever I come across that, I always mention that because I just think that violence in films have reached their peak, and there's nowhere to go with it. You can keep especially in horror films, you can keep creating torture porn and more gore and everything, but we've reached a limit. We're all desensitized to it, you know, especially in our profession. But I don't know. What's your opinion about violence in film these days?
I actually like the way they handled the violence in this film.
Okay.
Because the way they mix, and it's kind of like the slow-mo, like the 3D isn't there just for 3D because the slow-mo is part of the story. So you feel like you're actually on the drug when you're watching the film.
Oh, no, I love that part. Yeah, that's highly stylized.
Yeah, and the way they mixed it with the gore in the movie is kind of beautiful. Like when they kick open the door and they raid all those guys inside that inside like that shitty apartments, you know, that was like Anderson's first job. Like the way the bullet goes through the guy's cheek and then comes out the other end and then is kind of sprinkling towards the screen. And like I remember when I saw it in the theater, like the blood was like in my face and it didn't feel like overtly disgusting and gruesome.
As long as it's cinematically well
cathartic.
done.
Yeah, it was kind of cathartic, and it was mixed into like how these people have drugs because life is so terrible now that there is kind of a beauty to it. And they kind of put it in the movie, and I kind of like how they did that. I mean, I'd say probably the most gruesome scene is when Mama dies in the movie, you know, because Judge Dredd.
No, there's a couple of them where they throw the guys off the roof after they skin them, and their brains are splattered on the sidewalk. They like the splatter place in the sidewalk. That's very big with the dystopians there.
Yeah, you got the splatters.
Incendiary device on my gun. I start with that. If I'm gonna get a literal firefight going by hitting that incendiary button and going.
Yeah.
You know, forget armor piercing, forget regular gun. I don't know, regular gun. That's not gonna do it.
I think they just do that to save ammo. Like, why not just stick with armor piercing? It can go through everything.
Right. Or why are you saving ammo? There seems to be an unending supply of it.
Where is other clips? I think they're inside that suit of his. But that is one of my favorite guns I've seen in a movie in a while. You know, he just carries one. It does everything. You know, it can fire flares. It can do armor piercing.
Yeah.
It can do incinerary. You know, it's like a video game gun.
Yeah, it really is. But also too, I like the double cross. There's a real spoiler if you're looking to watch the movie. But you know, it turns out that the police force that comes to back them up are on Mama's clan side. So they're, you know, so the judges and Anderson, his rookie pilot, are toast. But we'll see what happens.
And there's also that interesting bit when there's that one judge who shoots Dredd, and he has that whole philosophy where he said the world is a meat grinder, and all we do is turn the handle.
Right.
And of course, Judge Dredd doesn't believe in that, and he waits for the girl to shoot him. And I mean, it's kind of down to the philosophy of the movie. It's like you kind of get the fact that Judge Dredd, there might be some hope in him, although he works with like this hopeless post-apocalyptic future.
Right.
Maybe through someone like Anderson, he can see the good in people, where he can actually fight for a better future. And the sequels could kind of get into that, but I don't want them to just become the Stallone film again.
Well, I believe if the topic is a sequel to this film, I believe it could be made a lot more efficiently now.
Yeah.
But the problem is they keep throwing money at these things to make them more spectacular. What do you think the budget of Running Man was? Because if we compare a movie of now to to Judge or to Dredd, it would be Running Man because it's a dystopian future, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. So what was the budget there? I'd have to look it up, but I'm
I
thinking it
didn't
was
guess a
near
lot more.
100 million.
Yeah.
So basically, and it seems impossible, but they didn't make a sequel because it didn't gross enough. Like it was
didn't make
made for
enough,
40 million and they grossed maybe 39 million, 2 million,
Yeah.
and it did great in the home market, like, the DVD and whatever. And
Yeah.
so people were like screaming for a sequel. And it just, in fact, the director was quoted saying, "There will be no sequel, Pete Travis."
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not
Well-
making the decisions.
Well, there's a bunch of reasons why it wouldn't have a sequel. One of the producers of the movie, who dresses up like the Crow and constantly like gives the middle finger to the camera, he said that they never wrote this is from a video from like 11 years ago, but like they never wrote a script for it for a sequel, and also it was independently financed and produced. So it wasn't produced by like 20th Century Studios or Fox
Right.
at that time, or certainly not Disney.
I wonder who's holding the rights. Somebody's holding the rights. So
yeah, it's like an independent company, and I think that's the problem, is that it was made on the cheap by these companies. It wasn't made for a lot of money, and even for a movie that was made for very little money, because they kept having to bring things back from the production. Like they couldn't add like a lot of the more science fiction like mutant angles in the story. Like you couldn't have the guys with multiple arms and all that. So they kept like tuning it down, making it more grounded while also having some of those metaphysical elements to it. But again, they made it on the cheap, but because it didn't make much back.
Cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get off that. Let's just go into what would you like to see in the sequel. Obviously, Anderson is the most interesting character, and Dredd. Dredd's an interesting character. So we come to a conclusion where they're, now they are partners. You have the classic, she hands in the badge. It could have been like a TV show from the 70s with the old badge handed. But we pretty much at the end we established that in the future these guys will be partners. So what do you want to see in a sequel with Anderson and Dredd?
Well, there's a couple things I wanted to see. One is I would like to see a backstory to see how Dredd became Dredd. You could do that with one of the sequels. So instead of just like a direct sequel, like let's see how he got to this place. But then again, the weird thing is though, I kind of like him being mysterious. I think if you take away that mystery, it doesn't make him as cool. Like maybe you could do a sequel of like what happens to Anderson midway through, but maybe she decides to be a judge after that. But I've always been interested in what happens to Dredd. Does he start to fight against the system?
Right.
Or does he have like
obviously there's corruption in the judge quarters because we see in that movie, right?
Yeah, so we could see a little more progress with his character that way. I feel like Anderson's story was good and it's over, and if you bring her in, it feels like you're just bringing them back in because they were in the original. Because like she handed the badge, she was done. I think it's best if she actually is done. If you ever
don't picture her in the sequel. Well,
if I do, she would be a revolutionary. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I would take it to a level where Anderson does rejoin the judge force, becomes a full judge, and becomes one of those who are being corrupted. So her soul is being torn between, doing what is right on Dredd's side and doing what is wrong on the cops who are obviously corrupted within the judge's chambers. You can expand upon that. And if Alex Garland was writing it, of course, we would up the dystopian elements to reflect more of our current times, because let's face it, so much has changed in 13 years.
Yeah.
So you could probably talk about the force above the force. Who's the ultimate judge? They kind of, speculate on it, but they didn't go deep into it. So I want Anderson back, I think, is the bottom line of
Okay.
of what it doesn't have to be Thurby, but it's got to be somebody playing her.
Yeah. But I like that idea of like she comes back to the Force and she becomes corrupt, although she tried to avoid it. And you see how she becomes part of a system
Right.
that
Yeah, because she's
ends up,
obviously not part of the system as a rookie. And
yeah,
Urban could play Dredd again easily.
yeah,
Maybe a little less, more stunt doubling, but he could do it again. And Thurby, it doesn't matter. Maybe she could bring her back. And you don't have to necessarily have, or you don't necessarily have to have Carl Urban either. Bring back Dredd because he's a generic enough character that he's not really. He was done by Stallone, he's done by Urban, but there's nobody really like married to the position. So
yeah.
both
Well,
characters can be replaced, is what I'm saying.
and I think there's a lot you could do with them. Like maybe through
Yeah.
her
Oh, hell yeah.
corruption,
Yeah.
Dredd starts to begin to not believe in the system, and that would be very different. She gets worse, he gets better.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like maybe she becomes the villain by like movie 3, and there's no saving her. And I don't
Yeah.
want to do that bullshit Star Wars thing where they do it with like Kylo Ren, where it's like, no, we're gonna make you a good guy. Like, no, let her die. You make her a tragedy.
Yeah.
Like that would be much more interesting than just, oh no, he's gonna bring her back.
They used to complain when Lucas had a hold of it. Now with Disney having a hold of it.
Well, actually,
let's
Lucas
dilute the product even more. But again, I've heard what was that? What's the latest Star Wars series?
Ahsoka.
So I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've heard that it's the deeper you get into the mythos of that Star Wars, that it is getting better because of the deep dive. But I haven't.
I would see Andor. It's like Star Wars. If you don't like Star Wars, it's
Right.
just good writing.
Right.
It's really about how authoritarianism works.
Right.
And
I think that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
I'd heard that that's some really good stuff. I also enjoy the latest Star Trek, the Academy.
Yeah. I've heard mixed things about it.
I can see mixed things in it, but the first episode's killer. The second, a little less so. The third, I'm about halfway through, and I can't get through it.
Are they still action
This is
oriented?
what happens. Huh?
Are they still action oriented, or is it much more like dialogue based, like the original shows?
Morality, the morality of Star Trek is that we're together. All races are together. Races are created in Starfleet, and they're trying to create a utopian universe. And that's what they follow up with in Starfleet Academy. And Holly Hunter, who I thought wouldn't be able to handle it, is handling it pretty well.
Oh,
and
great.
And also they like the humor and the quirk, and that's in it. And there's a lot of Easter eggs referring back to the previous series. So anyway, I so far, having trouble with the third episode, but so far so good.
Yeah. But one thing I really loved about Dredd is I like the look of the movie. Although it is a movie,
very much so, very well done.
You can tell it's a movie you have to see in 3D in the theater, because like when I see it on DVD, it's desaturated, so it doesn't look as bad. But when I saw it on HBO, like the colors are so bright, they're meant to be seen with 3D glasses.
Right.
Where it basically takes everything down a stop.
It was made for 3D. It was intended to be 3D. Okay. Yeah.
Like literally the title flies at you in the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
and they have that deep pit where everybody's thrown, and in slow-mo, it brings it to like a tremendous fall that just keeps going and going and going.
And Alex Garland really knows how to depict violence. He knows how to depict the brutality in it. And he also knows how to make it entertaining and sometimes very pretty, because I love Mama's death.
No doubt it's a great meat grinder.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Mama's death is great when he, like, not only does he kill her, but he gives her the slow-mo. So when she's falling, it feels like it's never ending. And when her face collides.
Okay, there's a question I had.
Yeah.
Remember, she's wearing the watch that if her heart stops beating, like the whole
everything's going to blow up.
Yeah. So him giving her slow-mo, is that to slow down her heart? What?
No, he's just sadistic.
Well, no. The watch does go to red zone, but nothing happens. So how did the slow-mo prevent it? I didn't catch.
It didn't. He just
track what
wanted
happened.
her to feel the pain. He
Okay.
just it was just cool, and he wanted
Well,
to do a cool action movie guy thing.
well,
But
yeah, and he did the catchphrase, But
yeah.
the when he gets armor pierced, always it's the hero cliche, takes some sort of bullet, and it's
Yeah.
only a flesh wound. But this
Yeah.
guy went right into his stomach area, so I don't think that's just that's septic shock.
Yeah,
He's
that's like an
dead.
artillery shell. He would have
Yeah,
been dead.
exactly.
And it's just
Exactly.
like a little staple, and he's okay. But the
Yeah.
other guy got shot, and he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. And
Yeah.
there was just a lot of big high body count in this one.
Well,
That's
okay.
You like quality kills? Come in on to Dredd.
Oh yeah. Well,
you won't
that's
dread
kind of
this movie if you love quality kills. There's my log line.
Well, that was the point of the movie. Is it's an action
I
film.
know.
It's meant to be fun, but it has a little bit of thought to it if you
more
really
sensitive
think
to
underneath
violence.
it. It's not just senseless violence. There's actually like thoughts of authoritarianism and oppression and
Oh yeah,
the
I'm
use of
not saying.
dystopian themes. But yeah, I mean, I get it. There is a lot of
Well,
there's
it's
a
just
lot
like
of high body count, but it's endlessly creative and entertaining how they kill.
it will never come up to the body count of a John Wick movie. But I always laugh. I always laugh because of John Wick. Why would you want to be a henchman in a Wick movie? It's a suicide pact. And that's what I thought too. No henchman would move on the judge if they knew his body count.
Yeah, except there are a bunch of like idiot like drug addicts who think that, oh well, if I take this slow-mo, I'll be high and angry and I'll be able to take him down. And no, although I will say I like Dredd way more than John Wick. And here's a controversial statement. John Wick, I just think is okay. I think it just works for one movie because it's about a guy, his dog gets shot.
I think the first one's a classic.
Yeah,
it's a classic.
First one, we get the idea.
Actioner with the motivation that's true. But it's interesting. The second one I thought was terrible. The third one, when they created the universe, it started to get interesting again. And then they kill him. Well, we can go into.
Well, like I just got bored with the whole Continental thing. I didn't even care about
the I got into that a bit. I like that a bit.
See, like all that I didn't care about. I just felt like I'm watching these movies just to mark time for like when John Wick's gonna kill a bunch of people and see what they do with the camera for that scene.
Well, here you go, ladies. Yeah. You thought you were tuning into Dredd, and we talk Star Wars, Star Trek, and
John Wick.
John Wick. There you go. But but in this film, they have shades of all that. So why not?
Yeah.
I'm trying to. It would take more than $1 million for me to go after Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
the corrupt cop. You're gonna have to give me 1 million kopecks or whatever their
what is their currency?
I don't know, but $1 million is still $1 million in it. So
yeah.
But I'm like, nah, that's not enough. I need another. I need at least an insurance policy for my. Oh, another thing I noticed in the scene when they go into the apartment, Kathy's apartment, she realizes she already killed her husband. There are family pictures on the coffee table there. And I'm like, wow, even in a dystopia, there are happy family pictures.
Yeah.
They're smiling on the irony. They're smiling on the beach. I'm like, where's the beach?
There's probably no beach. It's just a green screen. I don't think
there's a beach.
Yeah.
You're in a nuclear fallout zone. There's nobody taking pictures like that.
Unless you want to get radiation on the beach. But you could be like the people on the bridge in Chernobyl.
They were not detail oriented in this dystopia. It's just like, accept it. Don't ask questions about the 96% unemployment. I'm more fascinated with the 4% in Peachtree or whatever the hell it was called. What are their jobs? They work at the munitions factory because that's the only work. In this,
I think that would make for an interesting, because like I know they talked about making like a mega city TV series at one point.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking if they did do that, it'd kind of be smart like they did with the Penguin with it, where you make like a
Yeah.
TV series. It's not about Dredd or Anderson. It's about one of the people who just like live in these places, and you
I
could even make
again,
an
I'm
anthology.
fairly surprised that they have not expanded the Dredd universe, either
Yeah,
through, like you said, a TV show or a sequel, as we've just discussed.
yeah,
It seems like a character that people would warm up to, and especially after it came out in 2013, the aftermarket was really huge, and the fans are really, if you go to a Comic-Con, you're going to see a Judge Dredd. Let's
yeah.
face it.
Yeah, I saw even a video of a guy talking to Carl Urban when he was like at a Q&A for the boys, and
Yeah.
some dude with like the Dread helmet with the X's across like gave him a subpoena to like show like pictures of him in the Dread outfit. I don't know. It was silly.
Urban's intense, man. He's an
Yeah,
intense dude.
oh, is
Yeah.
he?
Yeah. Well, from the indication from this movie where he wouldn't let anybody see his face. He was adamant about not showing the judge's face because that's how it is in the
And I think
comic
that
book.
worked out beautifully. I mean, he
Yeah,
always
yeah.
looks like he smelled some shit in that movie. He's always
But
like,
that and that, that's fine, but then you can
yeah,
put any actor in it. You don't have to
yeah,
you don't have to put up with Carl on the set. Try between scenes, don't talk to me.
right.
I'm Dredd.
Yeah.
Like, no,
At
well,
this
let's
point, it's
bring in
kind of like
someone
he's
who
so
acts
ingratiated
rather
into
than
that, though, that it would be hard not to imagine another actor playing him. It's kind of like when you watch RoboCop 3,
yeah, yeah,
that's not RoboCop. That's just
right,
some dude. Like, who's
right,
that?
yeah.
It'll be kind of like one of
Um,
those things.
did you ever hear the story about Dustin Hoffman on the set of Marathon Man?
What, did he try to pick up some girl,
No,
underage girl or something?
yeah, that too. No, well, anyway, he's Hoffman's very method. He has to,
Yeah.
like Carl Urban, he has to don't talk to him between takes. He's trying to get the character. But anyway, there was the scene where he's been up for 3 days, like he hasn't had any sleep,
Yeah.
and he actually stayed up for 3 days, and he comes into
Wow.
the set, and he's with Laurence Olivier, one of the great actors of all time,
Yeah.
and he was like looking at me. He goes, Dustin, you look terrible. What? Well, I stayed up for 3 days because I wanted to get in the character. And he goes, my dear boy, why don't you just act it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what acting is for. Oh, I'm doing method. Oh, no. Unless you're Christian Bale and you're losing the weight, like, or gaining it,
Right. But in another sense, on the set of Red River, Montgomery Clift was in that film with John Wayne, and Wayne hated the method guys, the Brandos and all those guys are coming in. So here he is with one of the ultimate method guys, Montgomery Clift. And he hated the experience, but afterward he said that made him a better actor because he was on his toes. So there you go.
Well,
and that's one of the great Duke roles of all time. That's one of my favorite. He plays kind of a villainous guy, and he's very vague about his villainry, and that's a good one if you want to see a good Western. I'm not a Western guy, but Red River is one of the best.
I do want to see The Searchers.
Searchers
I just don't want to give money to
Searchers
Amazon.
Is another great one.
Yeah.
Rent $4. Come on.
Yeah, they pile up. I end up renting like a million movies each week now.
Yeah,
but
I don't. Only if I have to do one of these will I rent it. But
I think Carl Urban was a way better Judge Dredd than Stallone was. He was
I didn't see the Stallone movie, but I would assume yes, only because of Stallone.
Well, yeah, and the fact is that it covers his face, and you just see that.
He had his face. Stallone has to have his face out, of course, so everybody can see his Stallone.
Yeah, and he's got that weird like kind of birth defect with his lips, so he's talking with that with his face covered. It makes it even like more noticeable. I
think that was a at birth injury.
Yeah,
when they took him out of the wound, his lip was paralyzed by the forceps.
Yeah. Is
there you go. I don't know why I know that. I don't know why I know that, but I know that. That's why Sinatra has.
He said in an interview that I saw like a while ago.
Sure.
Yeah,
but he's turned out to be weird too. What the hell? Why would Stallone, who played the ultimate underdog, be a Drumpf guy? I don't get it.
It's
You
always
know?
these tough guys. It's always these tough
Yeah,
macho
yeah,
assholes
yeah.
who always act
Again,
like, "Oh, I'm gonna gravitate towards Donald Trump because
well, you know,
he's
we
a
all
tough
got
guy."
that's yeah. This is a it just it gives me a Jita whenever I think or
Yeah.
talk. So I'm sorry I brought it
Oh no,
up.
it's okay. I can go on forever,
Well,
but
no,
that's
I know,
why
but you know,
I think that's
this
why I
is
was
about
thinking
Judge
of
Dredd,
well, I think the
even though
whole
I'm
thing
in
with
Dredd.
I think the whole thing with Minneapolis or Minnesota, like it just made me
Nah,
think about Judge Dredd because it was
yeah,
about
it
these
is.
guys
Yeah, well,
who
there
are
you go. Yeah,
acting without
that's
impunity,
true. And
who are just
they
like
you know
throwing citizens down, they're
they've
murdering
got
them.
face coverings. They got face
Yeah, they're
coverings.
covering their
Yeah.
faces. Yeah. Like all that. And it just made me think, that is a bit like Judge Dredd. And when I was thinking of movies that should have gotten a sequel, I always thought about this film. I don't know if it would be profitable enough though. Because like yes, there is a huge fan base that wants it.
Well,
But
I think things have changed significantly
yeah,
in the 13 years since first the rise of the Comic Con, the rise of the Comic Con culture. That's now ingrained in society.
yeah,
If you're looking for something that has a comic book basis, go no further than Judge Dredd. You know,
and
it just makes it from a investment point of view. It's a brand name that does have some play in the whole comic universe. Um, so you know, I think it's a no brainer,
yeah,
especially with the tech that they have now. You can make it even more spectacular.
yeah.
But who
And I would
knows?
want it to
I
be
think
in
it
theaters.
works like you said. It would work for a series as
I
much
think
as a
both. I think you would
yeah.
get the series to get people reinvested, re-interested, and if the series does well, make a movie, make it in 3D,
Mm-hmm.
like it was with the first one, and you could probably get the fans engaged. But the thing is, if they do make a series, I wouldn't want it to be overly saturated. I don't want there to be so much 2000 AD Dread stuff that people are like, "Oh, I'm sick of
Yeah.
Judge Dredd. This is dumb."
That's always
Yeah.
you know that's always when that happens. It's sort
Yeah.
of like when we talked about Star Wars. How deep do you go there? Where do
Yeah.
you take your sources from? What is this? What is that? You know, it gets to be, it gets, again, a lot of these things are done by committee, especially when
Mhm.
you're putting 50 to 100 mil into them. You suddenly have, 25 executives giving you notes every day of how this character should be. It's a
Yeah.
difficult game. It really is. How anything is made these days, I'll never know, especially
Yeah.
with everything drying up in Hollywood right now. It's a real crisis.
Well, the
So,
technology is there, and Netflix is trying to get a hold of it because they have their Netflix approved cameras,
yeah,
which I'm sorry to say, that's just some bullshit because
yeah,
if you're good with lighting, then you could shoot anything with almost any camera.
right.
It'll look
Well, if
good.
they want the
Yeah.
product, they'll adapt it.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this. How about some quick takes on recent films? Did you see? Um, what have you seen recently that you liked? Maybe in
What have I seen
January.
recently that I liked? Oh,
Yeah,
well, Sam Raimi's newest film was pretty good,
yeah. I thought Send
actually. I
Help was
liked Send
really.
Help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
And
had
would you
enough
actually
quirks in it. It was quirky. I like quirky films. I don't. I mean, the Castaway thing has been done to death almost ultimately with the film Castaway, but
Yeah.
this one had enough weirdness in it that I enjoyed. So,
Well, it was Castaway where you think one person's crazy, but then it
right,
turns out the other person's
right.
crazy, and
No
that's what
spoiler alerts on that, but yes,
yeah.
yeah. They
And
didn't. They didn't. Who you think is a villain, who you think is a hero, switches, and we
yeah.
don't know. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
was a good one.
And we have
Let me
some
see.
comments here. We have I think it's from a bot, but we'll still recognize it. It
Get
just
those
says
commies off the.
it
Get
says
those
hello
libtards
from
off this
Drek
thing.
537.
Hello,
Hello.
Dredd.
How are you
How are you
doing?
doing?
I'm
Yes. How
good,
are you
Drek.
doing, Dredd?
Hi, streamer. Just caught your stream. Can't stay long, so I dropped a follow. I want to support your journey. I can connect with you with a big Twitch streaming and blah, 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 blah.
Here's a
Donor
bot.
gift. Yeah.
That's the kind of commentary I like.
Yeah, exactly.
Something's selling me something. I love it.
I just want a bunch of memes of Carl Urban as Dredd. You know, that's what I want.
Did you see The Plague?
The Plague?
Yeah.
No.
It was released the first week of January after a short run for awards season. It's worth seeing. It's about bullying.
About bullying? Oh,
yeah.
It's not about plagues.
No. The plague is symbolic of a bullying situation. So
what was that
very well done. And it got some. It was 100% at RT for a while. I think it's down to 98 or 99.
Oh wow! Now
I really enjoyed that one.
You know, there was a documentary that came out a long time ago that was about bullying. And I know South Park made fun of it at one point. But I can't remember the name of it.
How about 28 years later?
The Boner Temple. I loved it. Yeah.
I said on one review show, I go, my day, when you went to the Bone Temple, it meant something completely different.
Well, if you're in Catholic school, it certainly did.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, no, I enjoyed that movie a lot. I mean, at first it was kind of plotting, and then boy, slam bang ending, baby.
Man, dude,
would take you out. And
when Ray Fiennes goes on his rave.
Spoilers.
Like, that was great. Well, it's literally the poster.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, deception becomes reality in that. So, yeah, that was a good one. Did you see Primate?
No, I didn't see Primate. Instead, I saw Greenland 2 that day. And
you're right. There was the choice.
I fell asleep during it.
I think I chose Primate because I didn't feel like seeing something like Greenland. But I know that people said in Greenland there was actually some weird prescience to it because of the controversy with the country right now. Not the controversy that I ginned up.
I think it was because of just the title Greenland, and Trump was talking about Greenland.
You saw it, so I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of saw it. I was half conscious during it because it was so boring.
What was the other one?
I did see the newest Dracula.
Oh,
it's just kind of like an updated version of the.
I was trying to decide whether to get it or not. I it was offered last week, and I was like, I'm just not a horror guy, so it would be. But I do enjoy the interpretations of the classics.
I don't know why Dracula looks like Sindel from Mortal Kombat in it, though. It's just weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like the Frankenstein Guillermo del Toro?
Yeah, it was okay. But I want to see some more Judge Dredd is what I want to see. I
didn't mean to get off the topic. I thought.
Oh no, you're good. I want to see the Judge Dredd musical. I want to see the Judge Dredd play. I mean, no, I wonder how this movie got okayed, because the last one, like the Stallone one, was a bomb. And
I think it had to be because, again, they're just looking for new franchises.
Yeah.
And, the Stallone one, again, brand recognition, that's big. If you, and as I said before, the Comic-Con world has come evolved so much further in the 13 years since this last one, that seems like a no-brainer to bring it back. But who knows?
I think there's a big enough fan base, but they got to start little before they go like big budget, especially now that everything is streaming. I think a series on the 2000 AD series.
Oh, there you go.
Series would be interesting place to
start. You heard it here, folks. Even
tie Judge Dredd into it, You
heard it here first, folks. So
if it comes I think year, the series could end.
That bot took the idea and is taking it to these other robots. So
I think like one of the the way they could lead the 2000 AD series into Judge Dredd is that like at the end of season 1 or 2, Carl Urban makes an appearance.
All right.
And then it's like, oh shit, we're gonna get a Dredd
the end
movie.
Of 28 years later.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No
that
spoilers.
was the one.
No spoilers.
That was the one part of Bone
No.
Temple I didn't like. I'm
Oh,
just
well.
like,
Oh,
wait
yeah,
a
well.
minute. Wait a
No
minute.
spoilers.
Isn't he free? What the fuck?
It's still in the
But
theaters. No spoilers.
yeah. I won't
Yeah.
spoil it, but that was the one
Well,
part of the
we
movie
were
I
sitting
didn't like.
next to each other at Bone Temple.
Oh yeah, I said it out loud too, and like everyone
yeah,
just
you
stayed
did.
quiet.
You
when
did.
I
I
said
was
it.
like, as soon as you said that, oh my god.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
no.
cool. And if there's a wrap up on this, do you want to
No,
do?
I think we'll give it our ratings. What would you give
Oh.
out of 4 Guinnesses?
Oh,
What
4
would you
Guinnesses.
give Judge, or not Judge Dredd? Judge Dredd's a
Dredd.
crappy
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I'll give it. Let me think about it. I mean, I'm a Garland fan. I'm giving it 3.5 out of 4.
Yeah. That's actually wait, did I give it the right one? Yes, I did. All right, yeah, that's actually what I was gonna give it to, is 3.5
All right,
out
there
of
we go.
4.
You only have to put up one graphic.
Yeah.
Because I was vacillating between 3 and 3.5, but the Garland effect, and I thought Thurby's performance and Urban's performance definitely puts it in the 3.5 range. So
that, and
there you
it's there's so much creativity and there's so much to build, and I like the minimalism of it a lot. I guess it doesn't get the full 4 because
well, for me it was the
I
violence.
feel like there could have been just like a tiny little bit more character development instead of just constant violence. But at the same
and
time,
they needed to
I
clean
get
up
why
that
they did it.
dystopia. The rules are vague.
Yeah, thank God they don't have that movie in smell-o-vision, especially with the way Carl Urban looks in it. He looks like he smelled something bad with that look.
Again, in reading some of the trivia, there was a lot of Easter eggs from the comics book that was in the movie, but I have no knowledge of it, so I won't go into it.
Yeah. Well, guys, Pat, thanks so much for coming on. If you want to see all of his stuff, his socials, all that is in the description below. You can find me at YPA Reviews on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and
the chip in your brain.
Yeah,
that's my newest. That's the newest subscription for me. The chip in your brain.
Apple's trying to do that. Maybe Tim Cook will put that in there. But guys, if you liked what you saw, Tim Apple. Maybe Tim Apple did that along with Bill Windows. So guys, if you like what you heard, remember to like, listen, subscribe, all that stuff. Until then, we will see you next time on the next movie that we'll be talking about. Feel free to drop some suggestions on what the topic or movie could be.
Please, if it's porn.
Yeah. Well, there's lots that we can bring up with those. Or actresses who get naked a lot. All right. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. And we outie.